whenever I was pulling his trailer in one of my spare bands, one of my previous bands. He actually like made this mount on the side of his trailer to carry an entire spare axle. So the entire time we're on tour, he's like, well, just in case your axle breaks, which in turn you guys have actually experienced. So I was like, wow, I guess he was right.
That you guys have actually experienced.
Ooh. I'm done. See ya.
What's up? It's Tour Stories episode 3. What's going on, Cabrangle Bardangle?
Oh, not a whole lot. This is going to be one of my most favorite episodes that we ever do because we have the infamous and loving Josh Lamczyk on.
Worthy is the lamb, Josh Lamczyk from a band called Sink In. You might have heard of him. That's right. We just interviewed our own band member for this episode because why not?
Yep. One in Rome.
I guess so. But look, I actually think this is one of the most fun episodes we've done so far, just because we just know each other well enough at this point that it's just, I think this episode will sound just like you're just jumping in the van with us on tour and the nonsense begins right away.
Oh, as it does every tour.
I think we're going to do several of these episodes and try to have Josh on here a lot more just so you guys can kind of hear what it's like on the road with us. It's really hard to explain to somebody how it works and the dynamic of just being in a little family of dudes flying around in a tin can all across the country, you know?
Yep. Sometimes rolling or crashing.
Rolling, crashing, flying, spinning around. But Josh is going to be joining us. Follow Josh at Josh Lamczyk. Just find it on our socials because nobody can spell his name anyway.
Yeah, so true.
Cabretti, where can they find us before jumping into this episode?
As always, it's at Tour Stories Pod on Instagram, or you can follow us at Sink In Band, wherever you like to follow people.
Hit that subscribe button. Please leave a review wherever you are listening. Those reviews mean a lot to the algorithm when it comes to sharing this podcast with the world. And we're trying to get a few more people to listen to this. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe, write a review, share it with a friend. Let's get into this episode with Josh Lamczyk from the Stank In. I want to know about the first band that you were in that left your hometown and started playing terrible shows across the rest of Illinois.
Actually, I think our first show was in Indiana. I don't remember. Something like that.
Better.
Well, still Midwest. So the first band, I actually was in college at the time, and this band asked me if I wanted to just like travel with them to go to a show to see what their shows would be like, because I'd never played like, I don't know, outside of like just a local band before. And so I went out with them over the weekend and saw how crappy their band was. And I think we about died because their brakes were pretty much shot in their van. And me being like a maintenance guy on cars and stuff, I was like, hey, this shouldn't do this when you push on the brakes. It was like hard right. And I was like, this is not right. But anyway, so I ended up joining up with them for a while. Played with them, I don't know, maybe about a year or so before we like rebranded and did some other stuff, changed our sound a little bit. But
I'm not even going to go any farther with that band. I'm going to interrupt and talk about how we need to go ahead and start branding ourselves in a way where I need from now on, I need you on stage in overalls with a patch on the back that just says Repairman. That is the new move. Stage left is Repairman. Cabretti is still Ginger Man. Overalls only. We're an overall only band from now on.
I mean, I think the dude from Normagene, doesn't he like play in bibs or something?
It doesn't matter if it's just one guy. You just have to overpower people with the outfits now. It has to be everybody on stage.
I mean, that's my normal gig for Boilermaking anyways. That's what I wear, so
just
normal.
Just wear the ones just covered in soot. Just walk right on stage.
Yeah, because I just sweep chimneys all day, so it's all soot.
That's what a Boilermaker does.
Exactly. In a nutshell.
The only word I could come up with was soot.
That was the wrong one, so you failed.
Try again.
Just cut your video again.
We're gonna go. I'm gonna drop this. We're gonna try it all over. Jeez, man. Okay, so what was the name of that band?
It was called From Beginning to End.
Of course, it was.
Yeah, back in the old Christian rock metal days or whatever. I don't know. They were already named. To be fair, they're already named before I joined, so
And
it wasn't on me.
how many times did that band collectively go to visit Cornerstone Fest then?
Visit, not
I think
play.
we were. Yeah, right. We think we played there twice
Oh, nice.
before it shut down.
Oh man, he's bigger than we are.
Yep.
Dang. I don't even know if people remember Cornerstone Fest at this point.
I do. That's all that matters.
See, I didn't care about Cornerstone. It was too far away from me. I just cared about, I cared a little bit about Creation, but I cared a lot about Purple Door.
Yeah, I heard always heard about that one. I never really got involved with that too much because it was too far away from me. So
Purple Door was terrible because up until the last, 2 years, it was held at a ski resort. So it was just nothing but hills and mud every single weekend. And that was probably the best part about it too. Just a mud fest everywhere.
Hey,
mud pits.
They make for great mosh pits. So
the slide pits.
Yep.
True.
So did you just kind of jump around from band to band for a while in your early 20s, or were you kind of consistently with one band trying to really push it when you started, pursuing music more?
Let's see here. After that first band, we did the rebranding thing, renamed ourselves to The Drama Scene.
That's
so
dope. That's so
yeah,
dope.
Much better.
But anyways, we were like a screamo metal, like kind of pop rock kind of stuff, easy core, somewhat. And I played with them. We've tried to push pretty hard for the next maybe year or two before I wanted to do actually another project that was a little bit heavier, and then that's kind of the path that I took, which was my main band for quite some time after that. So,
and then you ended up in a pop band.
yes, trying to push the heavy nodes.
Yes,
push the heavy nodes. All right.
Actually, nowadays I'm more about those synth hooks.
He's such a pop boy.
Yep, it's because he has that poppy shirt now.
I mean, I started out with pop punk. That was my jam to begin with. So,
I would imagine that fans of us who know us pretty well by now would have no idea that nowadays, when we get into the studio, the one who's pining over the perfect little synth pattern is Josh out of all of us.
True. I enjoy it.
He's in the back of the room. Just, hey, can you make this a little bit more bubblegummy? I want to hear it sing. I want to hear it sing.
Yeah, add some more.
Video game.
I want to hear that that repeatable hook in your head. You just hear it forever.
Forever.
Whole song.
Yes.
I think that you've started doing that due to your affinity for trying to piss off as many people as possible at your job when you are home and not on tour.
That's possible.
That is one of your favorite hobbies. I love it.
You told me that you started buying bigger and better speakers to bring to work every weekend just for that reason alone, not for your own benefit, but for the downfall of the people around you that have to work every day.
That is pretty true. I like to be the loudest I can, and then whenever people complain about how they have to listen to what I'm listening to, I'm like, should have brought your own speaker. Sorry, dude.
Get a bigger one. Outspeaker me.
Yeah.
So
it's working.
When we met for the first time, Sink In had already started. So we were playing as Sink In. We played a show in Princeton, Illinois. The first time I met you. And that show was such a strange night because we were going through some major issues with figuring out what the defined direction of Sync In would be in terms of personnel and sound and all that stuff. And that was like that was a very prominent thought in our heads right now. Like, what are we gonna do? What are the next steps? And we hung out with you and your band that night. And I don't think I've ever actually told you this, but like at some point during the conversation, I brought you up, not knowing who you were, not even knowing your name really, as an example of somebody that I felt like would be a good fit for Sync In long term. Now this is that night. You're busy with that band. Like I was literally just using it as an example. I really didn't, it was not like a poaching thing, I was literally going like, so what he's trying to do in terms of performance, the look, like how I'm assuming he's writing some stuff in this, like how this is all happening. Like this is the element that we need to add to our group. I said that night.
Yeah. Cause
do you remember that already?
Yeah. I will vouch because we don't have ties memory, but I can vouch that he and I sat in the back during your guys' set, and he was pointing out your stage antics and like you as a presence on the stage. Actually, the entire night was like, we need somebody like that for our. We were touring with fill-in guitarists at that point, so
right. I do remember that.
Yeah, but it was a while until we actually started talking, and before you decided to come in and play kind of as a fill-in for us as well. Before we start getting into the antics of disasters and things that happen actually on the road, like I want to talk real quick about your, life trajectory at that time, right before leading into Sync In, because I know for you were still playing music and writing music consistently, but I think you were kind of on a direction of, I need to go and make the next transition into whatever next part of my life is going to come next. And then we started bothering you a lot. So I want to know what that was like.
So I do remember, actually, I think when we played that show, I think what happened was we played some like random, seemed to be like some kind of a craft fair or something like that
Like,
in the middle of the day.
Just the town fair.
I don't even remember what the preface was of what kind of event it was by any means at all. All I know was that there was like 4 people there in the middle of the day. And then it's like, hey, you guys want to come play a show at this venue type thing or whatever that was? And then there was like quite a few people at that, but it was actually a show. And we were like, hey, let's do that because this was not so good. So, but yeah, at that point, I don't know. Me and my buddy Christian, we were playing music together and writing together a lot at that point. And it just kind of seemed that I was more serious about trying to tour and do all this kind of stuff. And the direction that band was going didn't really line up to like what I kind of projected as seeing like what I wanted to go towards. Some of the stuff I just didn't agree with and whatnot. And so I ended up just honestly kind of quitting music in general for a tiny bit and just kind of started like doing my own like pop punk project and whatnot. And then cued you in to call me randomly at that point in time once you tried to scout me or like, hey, so are you playing with this band anymore? Or well, all obviously knowing that I was not playing in any band at that point.
When I contacted you, this is going to be, I'm not going to say any names. I contacted people before you simply because I couldn't remember your name.
Hey, that's understandable. But hey, you remember my presence, so.
I did remember tall ginger guy in a tank top with lots of tattoos in Illinois. I just could not. And I remember spending a little bit of time trying to find you, couldn't find the name. So I contacted a couple other people for that same position beforehand when it came to that fill-in tour that I'm very glad didn't respond at all. Very, very glad. But eventually got to you, and we at the time we were just saying, look, we want somebody to come and fill in. We're playing these festival dates over a summer, and you said yes way faster than I thought you would say yes. I was terrified we were going to have to like track everything.
Yeah, well, at that point in time, whenever you did ask me, it was like honestly the perfect time ever because I think I was off the road probably for, man, it had to be almost a year, I'd say. I was going through a rough patch in my life and all kinds of stuff, and like music was like not as important to me at that point. And then you kind of contacted me, and it was just all kind of worked out. So it was pretty cool. But I did not honestly at first think I would actually be joining your band at any point. I was like, oh, cool, I'll just play some shows for a while.
Neither did we, to be fair. I will say for me, the right away, the one moment that was very important to me that made me think, wow, I actually want to like play music with this guy for a long time was the first show we played. It was at Chameleon Club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we had a great night. Like,
I know where this is going.
Yeah, this was that show. First off, the show was awesome. It was just a fun night. It didn't go terribly, which when you're playing with somebody for the first time, as long as it's not terrible, that's a win.
Sure.
And it didn't go terribly. And we sold a ton of merch for us at that time. And I came out to you in the van. You were back in the van, and I'm like, dude, guess how much money we made tonight? And you're like, what? I go, dude, we made $1,600 tonight off the table. And you go, that's it? And then you walked away.
And then the
that
whole
was it. I didn't know where that was the end of the conversation. Just
you only knew me just from trying to like play guitar in your house and just like try to learn your songs like the 2 days before, we actually play a huge show. Yeah. And it's just like, cool. I don't know anything about you, but I know that you play guitar and you're sleeping in my house. That's all I got.
That's it?
Yeah, and then I will follow up the rest of that tour. We were like negative $20 every night.
We were watching that 1,600
the 1,600 just going.
Yep.
It's like good. We needed it. It was like the exact number we needed to not go to zero on that tour.
Yeah, for sure.
But so we've all three of us have toured now in multiple different bands that all were starting from flat zero, and we're going in the direction of losing money every single day. You got to go through that no matter what. I want to ask you about that time. Not that it still doesn't happen, but when it was real bad, when it was the days when it was real bad. I want
before we got approved for credit cards. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Credit cards changed the game.
Before debt. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Before debt became an asset. I want to know about the days in those early bands trying to make it in the metalcore scene across the Midwest and what that was like at that time.
Oh man. Okay. So, what do you want to hear first?
I want to hear everything.
The past couple of days I've had to try to take a little trip down memory lane to try to remember, like how bad things like actually started, because you tend to forget like how crappy things were.
Especially
whenever you're like doing well. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't remember my name barely. So,
well, give us your worst breakdown pre-sinking.
Okay, so my worst breakdown isn't really a breakdown per se. We were on tour with this band. I don't remember. I think their name was Postmortem. Really
so
good
heavy.
dudes.
So heavy.
So heavy. They're super heavy. Had a violin. It was awesome.
Oh yes.
Nice.
But anyway, so
I know them exactly without even having to hear them. I know exactly what they sound like.
Right. So we're on tour with them, and something happened to where they wanted us to pull their trailer, or we needed to pull their trailer for gear or something. I can't remember what the situation was, but in that time, like I said, before credit cards or before any of us knew really much of anything, we tended to run out of gas often. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but like, oh, and to preface that too, like we also had a van that's gas gauge was like messed up to where it'd be like, hey, cool, we're at 3/4 of a tank, and then it would just, it's not at 3/4 of a tank, it's empty. So
Of course.
yeah, so that was before I put the rule in that's like, hey, we drive 200 miles and we stop for gas. That's it. That's the rule. Don't trust the gas gauge. Anyway, so we were pulling the Spanish trailer and we ran out of gas. Pulled over to the shoulder, like thought everything was cool. Sat there for a little bit. I was like, cool. Well, I guess I'll get the gas can, and start walking to the filling station and grab a gas can and come back.
Prepared with a
Oh
handheld
yeah,
gas can.
you have to have one. That's like a must-have on tours for sure. But anyway, so in the midst of that time, we pulled over, and out of nowhere, we get hammered by a semi. Like it wasn't like a full-on rear end, like square dead into our trailer. It like, so on trailers they like stick out a little bit wider. The axles or whatever, the tires stick out a little bit wider than what your van does and stuff. Most of them. Anyway, so the semi drove by, sheared off the entire axle and like left side of our trailer. Actually, it wasn't even our trailer. It was the band's that we were borrowing or whatever at the time. So they, so it was a hit and run. The guy just took off, didn't come back. Like, and we were just sitting there like, in awe, really. I mean, it was pretty crazy because like you don't think about like, what we were thought about was like, hey, what if he would have hit us dead on? We'd have been absolutely like hurt bad, or like, I mean, it was intense. Anyway, so at that point, we're just like, cool. Well, what are we going to do now? So pretty much had to wait and get the trailer towed separately. Thankfully, none of our gear was actually destroyed or demolished, and just took out the trailer, which was fortunate for us because we weren't liable. So luckily, I mean, at that point, we're just like, cool. Well, we couldn't afford to get gas like 2 seconds ago. How are we going to afford to get this trailer fixed or whatever? But that was probably honestly the most intense, like worst situation that has happened, other than just the constant, like your brakes going out. Or I think one time we were in like Tennessee or Texas or something. We were pulling my trailer at that time, and my trailer had actual trailer brakes on it. It was a dual axle trailer. I think it was my dad's actually, but our brakes went out in our van while we were going through the hills of Tennessee, and I had to sit there and feather the trailer brakes the whole time we were going to like actually stop anywhere we were going. It was crazy.
Just use the trailer to parachute.
Yeah, I was like had my handle on the e-brake release, and I'd be like push the e-brake in and release the e-brake and pull the trailer brake at the same time. Somebody else is steering probably. I don't know. But yeah, so those were very real times.
Were you with us when we had the sway bar incident?
Which one?
Well, or the incident that caused us to buy a real sway bar?
No, he wasn't with us on that, I don't think.
That was, I don't know why, just the trailer situations just remind me of that. We were going across. Was that Arizona? Ready? Do you remember that?
We were actually coming in. It was, I think, northern Arizona, because we were coming through the Rockies in a section, and we just came down right outside of a valley, and a big gust of wind hit it and started flopping the trailer back and forth like crazy.
It's just one of those ones where when it takes off, and then just the momentum back and forth of the trailer just pulling the van left and right, it just didn't stop. And it was one where
we were on both lanes for sure.
Yeah. Like it starts out, you're like, oh, we're having one of these again. And then it kept going. And then you're a few seconds into it, and you're like, Oh, no, this is real. Like, we're in trouble. We're in real trouble right now. I remember with like it ended on the other side of the road, like crossing the double line to get control of it, just to keep the trailer from pulling the van all the way over. And
Yeah.
then we bought a sway bar the next day, I think.
Good
Yeah.
call.
In that scenario too, I remember having to teach a band member at the time, you do not brake during that.
Who was driving?
I was.
Oh, okay.
So, because you
So
want
you
to,
taught yourself that?
no, there was another member that was freaking out about it. And he was, why didn't you just like brake and stop? And that will actually cause it to come around and like smack and snap your hitch point if you do that. So you have to kind of like speed up and get it to straighten itself out and then gradually slow it down.
We
But
just lost 80% of our listeners the moment you brought up hitch point and
Yep.
that I brought up sway bar. It's too specific now.
Yeah,
Nobody cares.
dude. What you should have done with the wind, you should have freaking put a sail on the van and use the wind, just powered your van, just save gas money, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
I should have had Larry Lamczyk fit this thing up before we hit the road. I'll tell you what.
Should have put a freaking skull and crossbones on that thing and called it the death machine, bro.
I'll tell you what.
oh man,
Larry Lamczyk is Josh's father, who's one of the most legendary people of all time. He speaks only in Midwestern parables. I don't think I've ever heard him say my name, and that's quite okay with me.
I think he finally has my name down. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, you have to build respect for him to remember your name.
Of which I do not have, and that is okay by me. I respect him.
Well, there you go. Sorry, Ty. You're at the bottom of the totem pole.
That's all right. I'll let it slide this once.
Fair enough.
So, okay. So the next thing I want to know is we've been slowly introducing all of these wild sink-in stories throughout these episodes, and I kind of want to just continue to just sprinkle them in throughout because I think it's doing these podcasts. It makes you realize how many of these stories you have. Like they're just kind of stuck back there in your brain, and as they all start flowing out, you're like, man, we've got like a book and a half of all of these. So I want to know, for you, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you when it comes to a sink in toward disaster?
Sink in toward disaster. Honestly, I mean, we've had it really pretty good.
We've done pretty well.
I mean, I obviously joined up with you guys after we'd already gotten, or you had already gotten the newer van and all that kind of stuff. So I know like a lot of your stories were like pre me. So
pre having Harrison Ford.
That's true.
Back when it was Vincent Van Gogh.
Yep, rest in
peace.
peace.
But the one thing that I do remember was I think we did a tour, and that's whenever among the first times we started pulling my trailer, I think, and we continually kept blowing trailer tires.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Well, yeah, we had one of those tires took out a complete fender, didn't it?
Yeah. Which wasn't. I mean, I think me and Cabretti did like 4 different NASCAR type changes. We were like, I was like, Jack man, let's go. And you're like, oh, I got it. I'm just like, let's go. We're on the road.
Meanwhile, I'm at the gas station taking a pee.
Yeah. So I do remember, I think I dropped all you guys off in Chicago to make your flights home. And I drove my trailer in the van, I think back down to my house. It's like a 5-hour drive from Chicago. And I think I was down to like one last spare tire, and I was like 45 minutes away from my house, and the last spare tire that I had blew. And I think I was gone from home for roughly like 2.5, almost 3 months at that time. So I'm like, 45 minutes away from home, like this is bull crap. So one of the tires, I think, that blew, all the tread fell off of it at some point, but it just had the wires showing on it. And I was like, well, this is it. I'm using it. So I threw that tire on with just the wire showing and made it like 70 miles home.
And I do have to back up
on that. So.
and say, most people are going, you guys carry more than one spare tire?
We carry 3.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, that comes along with also my dad is very paranoid. Actually, at one point we were pulling I was pulling his trailer in one of my spare bands spare bands one of my previous bands. He actually like made this mount on the side of his trailer to carry an entire spare axle. So the entire time we're on tour, he's like, well, just in case your axle breaks, which in turn you guys have actually experienced. So I was like, wow, I guess he was right.
That you guys have actually experienced.
Ooh.
I'm done. See ya.
Oh man. Yeah, we have since the acquisition of the new van, we've done pretty well for ourselves.
And Josh's trailer, because our
and
trailer was rough.
Yeah. We
True.
look, from me personally, I will look dead camera and say I'm so thankful to be in a band with these two guys specifically because they are capable of doing any NASCAR stop on the side of a highway, 18-wheelers rolling past. They got no problem. There are multiple occasions where we have had some sort of technical issue with all of our gear, and they did a full 20-hour job in 8 overnight, drove to the next show, and we're ready to go for our next gig. But it's crazy. So 2 things. One, it's crazy how talented you guys are when it comes to just being resourceful with everything that has to do with touring. But 2, it's really special when brains such as yours are thrown into something such as touring. Because I don't think that there's a better primer for brains like yours other than touring. Like you're thrown into the ringer every single time, and it's your time to shine and get really creative. Like there's no place better for brains like that, the way you guys think.
Yeah, I think
Thanks,
we
Ty.
get lucky too. There's definitely some aspect of that because I know, Josh, one of the first times you were with us, we did a show in New Jersey, and we had an issue where we had to run and get some parts for, I think, the trailer. It was leaf springs. We had the leaf springs go out.
Oh yeah, okay. That's what we were on tour with Forever at Last. I
Yeah.
think that was like our last tour date or something.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
so
yeah, I remember.
we just got incredibly lucky with finding a shop that was open just in the amount of time for us to be able to get leaf springs to come out and then change them, go play a show, and then drive home.
That's right. I forgot about that.
There's multiple times in which somebody has come up to me at a merch table and hung out with me for a little bit, chatted, and then said, "So where's the rest of where are the rest of the guys?" And multiple times I've gone, "Oh, Cabretti and Josh are fixing everything that we own right now backstage." And then they would say, "Well, aren't you guys going to play in a little bit?" "Yeah, they'll be ready. I'm not worried about it." They're like, they tell me to go and just handle merch and go set up and go sell stuff. They'll take care of everything. Just bring back the cash, and then we'll get to the next place. That's how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that cash that we made also goes back into fixing what we had broken.
Fixing said things that were just broken.
Or repaying people for fixing things that we broke.
Also that.
So the moral of the story is, if you come to see us at a show and you're stuck with just seeing my ugly mug at a merch table, it's probably because Josh and Cabretti are backstage somewhere fixing something that matters more.
Speaking of
that's not true.
Things,
everybody else matters as well, but you know.
I think my favorite Josh tour story is when you decided to just catapult your guitar.
Oh.
I didn't know about this. I didn't know until well after this story. So I want to hear it from somebody else.
I mean, you can tell the story, Cabretti.
All right. I don't even. It was middle of nowhere that we were playing this show where
it was actually in my home state. Thank you.
It was not in the middle of nowhere. It was in Chicago, Illinois.
Right, baby.
It just felt like it because not many people came.
That's true.
It was a smaller show, and middle of one of these great rock songs we're doing, I look over and Josh's strap had pulled out of his guitar, and I see just in time for him to be throwing his guitar into the ceiling and snapping the neck on your guitar.
Into the ceiling?
It went pretty far. It may not have been that far. I might be exaggerating a little, but
And the neck didn't snap. It was repaired. Okay, so
yeah.
I didn't know. I'm so oblivious on stage. I had no idea this happened. So I'm all happy go
it was
lucky
also
coming
during the
on
last
stage.
song we played.
Was it
So
like, yeah, right at the end, you just hurl it off the
Yeah.
side.
They just thought you were super punk.
I mean, you got to bring a show to no matter how many people are there. So
Exactly. That's a sink-in philosophy for sure.
Got to bring a show, no matter how many people are there.
Right,
You know, we kind of have always, you know, kind of the MO for our band has always been, it doesn't matter who is in the crowd. If there is one person there that you can impact on any given night, then it's worth it what we're doing. And equally on the business side of things, if there's one person there seeing you play that night, you don't know who that person could be. You don't know who that person will be, and you don't know the people that they know. So I think one thing that I'm super proud of that I think we've always done is that no matter the size of the show, I don't think we've ever put on much of a different show between our biggest events and the nights when we're playing in front of 8 people. And I've always been proud of that. I think that takes like a special kind of person to just go, I love this so much, I'm going to give it the same amount every single night, no matter what. I'm going to beat these songs right down your throat because that's what I love to do.
Yeah, there's only one show I can remember where we did not do that.
I know one. What's yours?
The one in the middle of Los Angeles where not even the sound guy stayed.
Yes.
Yep, that would be fun. Playing to an empty room in practice.
was I there for this?
I thought you were.
I think he might have been. We had just played a big show in the Valley just outside of LA like the week before, and you guys stayed for several days and we were just working on stuff. And a bar asked us to come play like a late night spot, just like last minute, just a free show, like an Irish bar on Fairfax. And we didn't know late night literally meant 1:30 in the morning. So we went on at 1:30 in the morning and they wanted us to play a 40-minute set. I kept my backpack on. I played with a backpack the entire time.
I do remember. I remember your backpack being on specifically. I don't remember the show or anything, but I remember you playing a show with your backpack on.
I yelled louder after songs than I was during songs.
And every song was different.
I was taking care of my voice, and then as soon as the song was done, to the sound guy who eventually left, thank you! Thank you! There we go. This next song's called Cabretti Forgot the Shave.
Yep.
And then we would play with her. That was really, I can't think of any other ones other than that where we really just checked out.
I can think of probably a few, I'd say.
Yeah.
What do you think of right away?
Shoot. There was one in like Nebraska or something like that. There's like a record store in the front. There's like a venue in the back. The sound guy was like super particular about like wanting his mic cables ran so a certain direction or something, because normally Cabretti bringing a professional sound engineer, he's like, hey, this sound setup's stupid, I'm gonna redo it because it's stupid. And we're like, okay. And then you redid it and the sound guy came in and he's like, what is all this crap? And he freaked out. And then we were just like, fine.
Yeah, that's fair. The overzealous sound guy on a midweek show can shut you down real fast. The guy who just needs the reality check of, hey man, you're making $20, I'm making $3. Let's just work together and get this done.
Although we do appreciate those guys too.
Yeah.
I don't want to knock anybody here.
And we still have a
Ty,
lot of fun at those.
what a jerk.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, easy, Ty, because that's my other job. Is I go make $20 as a sound guy.
At least
You just happen to be really good.
Yeah, you deserve those $20, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's $20 and a free wing from the bar.
That's
it.
right. So the moral of the story here is the moral of the story here is when this pandemic is over for good and you want to book Sync In, we basically cost $20 one wing and a good old fashioned water bottle for Josh Lamb, and you're pretty much set to have Sync In come and play in your venue. It's really all we need.
True. Make sure it's room temp and not to the temperature of Ty's refrigerator in his house, apparently.
They were bagging on me before we started about how I was so excited that in this little studio that I'm setting up for them to stay at when they get out here to LA, I said I installed a fridge just for you guys, of which I was quickly reminded that Josh only drinks room temperature, and they proceeded to inform me that I didn't install anything. I plugged something in. And there's a drastic difference between what they consider to be an installation and what I consider to be an installation.
Yeah, turn the closet into a walk-in cooler, and then we'll accept your installation.
I built the couch. That's what matters. I brought the screwdrivers out for the couch. I used the sticky strips to get the lights.
All right, so I'm gonna bag on you a little bit more. You put the couch together.
I put it together
after someone else built it.
They built it, and then they unscrewed it, and then I took all the parts and I re-screwed it.
That's it.
I actually don't.
But good job.
They probably didn't even screw it together. They probably just made the pieces, and then you screwed it together.
No, they definitely screwed it together because the holes that were in there previously were they were making left turns and right turns all over the place. So I did have to re-drill a few things. So you'd be proud of me there.
Good job, dude.
Good job. I appreciate you.
Using power tools.
That's what they call me. That's there you go. That's exactly how we're going to end this episode. Is we know that Cabretti's overalls are going to just say ginger. Josh's are going to say repairman, and right across the back of mine, power tool.
That's the most accurate thing I've ever heard for you.
All right, let's cut this one short and keep this one a nice and short episode because I want to do several more with you, and we'll take some steps back and go band by band and hear all of the goodies that have brought you to here, putting up with Cabretti and I in Sync In. So, Josh, where can the people find you?
I guess on the internet.
What do they type in to find you on the internet?
Type the one guy.
Sync In.
Just type the words.
Add Josh Lamczyk. I already got it memorized.
Ladies and gentlemen, This is why Sync In is not a bigger band than we are right now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Tour Stories. You can find me at Ty Sync In, the other one at Cabretti Sync In. He's that way. At Josh Lamczyk on Instagram. And if you haven't watched the music video for Swim, watch it. Also, probably by now, by the time you listen to this, there will probably be another music video for a new song called Killing Time with AJ Perdomo from The Dangerous Summer. Listen to it.
Yeah.
Your boys brought back some Boys to Men, little NSYNC, little 90s hip hop into the band world. You're welcome. Sync In Jock Jams 2021. This is Tour Stories. Thanks for listening. At Tour Stories Pod. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tour Stories, brought to you by Sync In. This one was a lot of fun. If you've been enjoying these episodes, please, again, subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on socials and share this with somebody new. It's the best way to share these new podcasts with the world. Cabretti, where can they find us?
Be sure to Follow the podcast on Instagram at Tour Stories Pod, or follow the band at Sink In Band, or follow Josh Lamczyk at Josh Lamczyk. If you can't spell it, don't worry about it.
Just Google at Josh Tattoos. Probably show up. I don't know.
Or just tattoo. He'll probably show up.
Tattoo. Just at Moist Tattoo. I think we found his new social handle right there. That might be it. At Moist Tattoo.
Probably not.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll see you next time.